All right, so continuing on with some of this vocabulary that we're going to really use throughout the whole course in Algebra 2. And we mentioned some things from graphs before. We're going to continue on with that right now. So we're going to mention another set of phrases here, domain and range. So in terms of vocabulary, domain is all the x values used. And then range would be all the y's used. This is an important concept here. We're going to be looking at graphs throughout the course and understanding all the x values used, all the y values used. Off of that concept, we need to understand that intervals in domain, where the function, we could have increasing or decreasing or constant functions. So let me just take note of that. So there's going to be locations in our functions where intervals could increase, they could decrease, or they could stay constant. And in order to kind of pick this out here, what I want to do is go up back to the first piece of paper, take a look at this image right here with the graph that we had. And we could certainly tell a couple things. So if I'm looking at this graph, first thing I want to kind of highlight to everybody is that our domain would be all of these x values here, and it looks like it goes from 0 to 10, where this graph is going the whole time. So from 0 all the way to 10, that's how you would say that in words. Of course, I got an inequality here. 0 is less than or equal to x, is less than or equal to 10. The graph covers those x values nonstop. Then for range, go ahead and do a little bit of highlighting on that side as well. Go ahead and use yellow. For range, I'm looking at my y values here. It looks like it's going from here all the way up to this location right there, and that's talking about my range. And the lowest part kind of sort of looks like 70, and I'll be using the letter y there, and I go all the way up to 170 with the range. So that's all the y values possible in that situation. With that, you could say the minimum location is 70 and the maximum location is 170. In this situation, that's talking about temperature here. And some really hot coffee. So within that concept, we want to talk about, and made mention a little bit earlier here, that intervals could increase, decrease, or stay constant. So my domain is 0 all the way to 10, but if we take note of specific locations within this imagery here, we should know that if I'm starting at this location here, and I go all the way up in that location, that is where this chart is increasing. Now that increasing isn't happening the full location of the domain. That increasing is only happening from x values. Looks like it's starting at 0. And it works its way all the way to an x value of I'm going to go ahead and guess 1.75. That's where the increasing is happening, but then we can go ahead and most certainly see that at that spot, at that maximum location, that is where we're going to go ahead and start seeing the decline. So we see our graph go down and down and down and down at that location, and that is where we're decreasing. So it is definitely possible for me to have within one situation an increasing, a decreasing, staying constant is something we're not seeing in this picture, but it's most certainly possible. And that decrease here, again, is happening from 1.75 all the way to the x value of where this eventually stops at, which is 10.